Alright guys, what's going on? So I haven't really got to tell you guys much yet recently, but got a new car. We're going to go into detail into that in just a moment. But today, I am going to replace the alternator on said car because I think mine's gone bad, or there's some belt issue, but I'd rather replace the alternator because the one that's in there is kind of janky. It's under amp rating of the stock alternator, and I want to bump that back up so I can get a reliable charge and not toast any batteries. So now what we're going to do is we're going to replace the alternator on a 645 CI, as well as doing the dreaded alternator bracket gasket, which is kind of a stupid gasket for those of you that don't know what it is. All it is there's a hole in the side of the engine, the alternator bracket went over it, they put a gasket there instead of just making it a flat wall. That's pretty much it. There's probably some sort of technical reason as to why they did that, or something that had to do with the process of making the engine. But I'm gonna look over that for right now, and we're just gonna go right into getting this thing all done. So let's go ahead and get right to this. rockauto.com. So let's get back into this. Sorry, this focus is incredibly loud, and I'm sorry for that. But let's go ahead and get right into this. This is the new alternator, like I said, 180 amps, and you always wanna make sure they spin freely to make sure there's no malfunctions right off the bat. Which this one is doing good, so we should be able to go ahead and load this right back up. I just gotta, basically I took this one out so I could figure out the mounting points of the one that's on there right now, so I'm gonna do a little bit of some mock-up variation stuff, and then we'll get right back to that. So, uno momento. And just for reference, I did already take off the belt, and I'm about to take off the idler pulley, which I think is actually mounted directly to the alternator on these cars. The idler pulley just comes out with a torque screw. Sorry, not the idler pulley. The belt tensioner just comes loose with a torque screw and a breaker bar, and I'm going to show you how that works as well whenever I put everything. Actually, I'll go ahead and show you in a second. And then the idler pulley has a little dust cap on it, and then a bolt. I'll go ahead and show you both of those in just a second, but let's make our way over to the car now. So like I was saying, for the belt tensioner, I try to have as much light as I can down there, but I understand it's going to be hard to see in some cases. So for the idler pulley, belt tensioner, all it is you have to put a Torx wrench in this little hole right here, and then you take it and you lift it up, and that releases tension. And then while I'm doing that, I do it with my right hand, and then my left hand I take it off the alternator side. And then that just comes right out. If you need to replace the idler, you just take this bolt out. God damn it, if you need to replace the belt tensioner, you just take this bolt out, and that's that. The idler pulley is underneath the alternator, and I believe it's mounted to a little bracket on the alternator. That one has a tiny little dust cap you can take off with a screwdriver right here. Just a little dust cap. And then it has another torque screw on the inside, which I'm not too sure the sizes of the torque screws, but I'll tell you them in a second. So give me 1 second real quick, and I'm gonna get this idler broken loose. So that's the idler pulley, just like this, just this little torque screw, and that's pretty much it. And then you just unscrew it, and then it has a washer on this side and the nut, and it's kind of locked on there, and then the pulley itself. So give me 1 second and we'll move on from here. So first thing I did was I came over and I took the belt tensioner off, and the belt tensioner comes off with, I just use a torque wrench, but it's got to have some distance on it. This is an old shitty torque wrench we don't use anymore, and we literally use it as like a miniature breaker bar. But we use that, and then a pretty big torque screw. I want to say it's a T55. That just goes on to the belt tensioner, which when it's in the car, if you're looking at it straight from the front, it kind of sits like this. All you have to do is pop the Torx in there and then lift up this way. It will relieve tension, and then you can get the belt off. From there, I believe it is a 16 millimeter socket on the inside. Take that off, this entire assembly comes straight out. Once that assembly comes out, I then work on the idler pulley, which is held in by also, I believe, a 16 mil socket. Actually, no, I take it back. It is held in by a torque screw with a little dust cap on the top of it, and the torque screw for that one is, let's see here, a T50. So T50 pops the idler pulley off, and then from there you take two 16 millimeter bolts and remove them from the alternator, and they're kind of sitting about here, where if you look at the alternator, this from the straight on, you'd be looking at it this way, so they're kind of like right here and right here. And then you've just got to take off a 13 mil socket on the top that gets the positive wire from the battery off, and then the plug on the top. The reason I didn't show that is because I like to show it to you outside of the car, because it doesn't really make sense if I'm like recording a video and this is all you see and you just see my hands moving around down there. So I'm going to show it to you guys in a little bit on the bench over there. But also another thing I did is I had to take off the fan shroud, which actually is super easy. So I'm going to go ahead and start and kind of explain this. There's a top piece that has maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 torque screws. It has the ones along the front end, and then it has 2 that go this way and then 2 that go this way. The 2 that go up here are pretty long. And that takes off a front cover, and then you've got some smaller T25 screws. You got one here, one that sits in the middle here, and then one there and one on the other side as well. That takes off the shroud, the top of the shroud, and then you're left with the shroud, and you're looking down it like this. There's 2 plugs on this side. There's one that sits right here that I broke off the clip for, so I'm gonna have to try and fix that. And then another clip right here. And then it's got these 2 little anchors on the sides. This anchor folds in, so you gotta kind of lift it up and get it in between. There's 2 hoses right there. You've got to get it in between those 2 hoses, kind of flex the hoses and then pop it inwards, and then it comes straight up. It does take a little bit of a tug to break it off the bracket at first, but nothing too bad. Okay, so I got the positive terminal on. I'm going to tighten that down, and then I've just got to get this plug that's in the same area back here and plug this in right there, and then we'll be all good. So give me 1 second real quick. Alright, so after a little while I finally got that on. It didn't take a lot of like effort, more of like brute force to line up the holes. But yeah, so now that that's back on, I'm gonna go ahead and put the idler and belt tensioner back on, and then we're gonna keep putting, and then we're gonna put the shroud back together. So let me go ahead and put the idler pulley back on, which is pretty easy. It's just this screw and this washer that come out as one piece, and that just goes right there on the side of the alternator in that hole right there. Just give me 1 moment to put that on. Alrighty, so we got the idler back on with the dust cap on it. Now we're gonna go ahead and mount the tensioner up. The tensioner does have a little bit of play whenever you're putting it on there. It should sit about like this with no tension, and then whenever it gets tension it should sit more to the middle, so just a little bit off to the right, and you'll kind of feel whenever you're tightening it in, just give it some twists and you'll feel where it'll lock into place and where it'll get stuck. It's right about there where it should go on with no tension on it. So give me 1 moment for that. Alrighty, so now I got the idler back on. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put the belt on, and I'm sorry, fuck, I keep saying the idler. Got the idler and the tensioner back on. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put the belt on. So give me 1 moment for that. Again, it's just a T55 and the belt and some sort of breaker bar so that the ratchet doesn't engage while you're trying to do it. And it gives you a little bit of a longer throw with it. So give me 1 second real quick. Alrighty, so we got the belt on. You just wanna make sure all the threads are lined up, which in my case, I am all good. You want to make sure that the idler and the tensioner kind of sit at least mostly on the belt sits mostly on it. It'll straighten up if it's slightly crooked because these ones don't have threads to guide it. It'll straighten up with the actual like when the car starts, but just make sure it's mostly on there so you don't have any tears. Everything is torqued down. There's not really any torque specs for this, so I just kind of go for either 35 or 25 foot-pounds depending on the size of the bolt and the density, so like rated 8 or rated 10. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the shroud back on. So first thing I've got to get is the actual fan part. I'm moving around this light so you guys can actually see again. We got to get the actual fan part, which I set off to the side. Again, make sure you fold the right side clip in, and then you just slide it down flush with the fan. Watch out, there is one hose that runs across the front of it. You don't want to break that. So I'm just going to set it in here for right now, and then we're actually going to adjust it whenever I set the camera down. you get that slid on, make sure that it is sitting, these little clips are on there, and make sure the little brackets in the corners are actually hooked on. And then you've got to grab the 2 plugs and plug those back in. The big one goes onto this big ass plug right here, and the small one goes onto this little bracket. I broke the bottom piece off of mine, so I'm just gonna generously set it there and then maybe zip tie it down in a little bit, but I'm not too worried about it right now because I want to make sure this alternator is charging at 14.4. And then once you get that on, now what you can do is you can move on to the big the like plastic shroud that goes on the top. That just sits on it like so. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these tiny really wide thread screws. So let me go ahead and put those on there now. There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight, there goes a soul. Now there goes a sight from my there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my soul. Alrighty, so now it's all back together. You should be left over with one 13 mil socket. That's from the old alternator. I'm gonna go ahead and pop that back on here because I believe I have a core charge for this one. Just pop that back on. So yeah, there's an alternator change for $645. I know this one was kind of like a not as in-depth DIY, but some people just like to know little tips and tricks for getting an alternator out. Some people will try to muscle that one out of there because it looks like it'll almost fit in that little spot, but it won't. But yeah, that's everything back on there. I've just got my tools sitting on top and a bunch of dirty handprints I've got to clean off. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test to make sure my alternator is still going at 14 volts, which I need a 10 mil socket for, and my voltmeter, which I believe is in the passenger seat. And I was right. Now we're going to head into the trunk where I've got all my shit. And we're going to test this out, so let's go ahead and try this real quick. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from there goes a sight. Okay, so 12.21. I'm going to go ahead and set this here. Let you guys kind of view this. 12.21. I know there's a reflection and I'm sorry about that, but we're just gonna have to tough it out. So 12.21, 12.20. I'm gonna go ahead and start it. We're gonna see if it goes up to 14, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it does. Now we're looking at 13.4 something, I don't really know, but hold on, let me make sure I've got a good ground. Well, actually, let's run up to the front. So we're definitely getting something, but let's actually run up to the front real quick here. Because I'm not actually holding these terminals on. So now what we're gonna do is we've got a positive and negative right here. Sorry if you guys can't hear much. Positive, negative, and there we go. 14 point, oh, it's over 14, which is what we need. So cool, so hopefully I got that. Also, this car has been sitting for a while and I didn't get any belt squeal this time, so hopefully I fixed the belt squeal issue. It's weird that that cam pulley looks like it's going backwards. Hold on. I've got a weird vacuum noise coming on over there. I don't know if you guys hear that, but it's like a vacuum noise back there. But anyways, on the video, the cam pulley or the camshaft up here on the top is going backwards, and it was just weird looking. But anyways, yeah, no squeal that time, which is good. So I'm gonna clean up these things. I did forget to tighten down the top mounts, but it's just because I didn't want to do that and then figure out how to take it all off again. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean up some stuff here, and then we'll kind of do a recap of everything that went happen. So give me 1 second. Alrighty, so a lot has changed since then. Like, I'm not in my whatever you want to call it anymore, and I am currently standing next to the car, hood's closed and everything cleaned up, and I'm cleaning myself up, and the reason being is because it's all done now. I recorded a 5-minute video of the car running with the voltmeter on it, sped it up, and I had 14 consistently in the front half of it, except obviously for if it didn't have a good connection, which is like when I moved around occasionally. And then it had, and it never fell down. So I watched 5 minutes of that, so 10 minutes had gone by because I had to record 5 minutes and then I had to watch all those 5 minutes. So 10 minutes has gone by since then. Oil is all good. I'm still having oil leak because I need to replace that bracket gasket. And it's not gonna be a super hard gasket to replace, I just gotta have the time to do it. And today is not that day. It's gonna have to be a day when I come down here and start in the morning, and hopefully when the temperature starts to drop, which is kind of starting to drop now. But basically what we're doing is I'm heading out. I'm just cleaning off my hands so I don't get any dirty stuff in the car. I still have the Jetta and I still have the RX-8. Both of those are kind of, oh well damn, hold on. One of the things fell off the wall. But anyways, I still have both of those cars, but right now this is my daily. Until further notice, it's gonna stay mostly stock engine. It's just got that air intake. I'm gonna redo the solenoids in the automatic transmission. These transmissions are known for being a little slippy style things. Whenever they get older into the like upper hundred or the first 100,000 miles, all you have to do is really replace the mechanitronics thing or the solenoid or both at the same time, and that fixes the issue. It's actually not a super hard fix at all. You just gotta take the pan and the mechatronics thing out, replace the solenoids, put it back in and change the fluid. It is a long and dirty process, but it's nothing too bad, and it's mainly bolt-on stuff. From there, I am gonna be cleaning up some of the lights, replacing some of the tedious things. That really just comes with TLC, like the paint, the rims, the condensation in some of the lights, replacing the cowl, some of the trim and stuff like that. And then from there, I'm basically just gonna keep it mostly stock. Another thing I'm gonna be doing, because I am trying to make this more of a vlogging, more personal channel, which is kind of why I do these little talks here at the end. I am gonna start recording some things that I do in my everyday life. I do go to college at Charleston, so it's a little hectic and hard for me to do all of these things that I wanna do and not feel stressed out and still get good grades and have time for work and all that other stuff and do stuff like this. But it's gonna be more stuff between me and my girlfriend, who you guys have yet to meet, but I'll show you guys her here shortly, hopefully, because we're hysterical. We think we're funny, and I thought you guys might enjoy to watch some of that stuff too. So other than that, that's where I'm leaving you guys today. Hopefully I'll see you guys next time soon, either on car stuff or my personal life, or something at least that you guys will want to enjoy. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe to me for more content, just vlogs and or car stuff. It's kind of up to you. I'm not going to ask that you guys watch every single one of my videos because I know I'm not always funny, and not everybody owns a 645 and not everybody owns an RX-8. Those are two of the more rarer sides of consumer cars that people have, and I happen to have both of them, and that's all I really work on. So other than that, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, or at least found it helpful for you, and and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Okay, how the fuck do I start these? Okay, god damn it. Fuck, I cannot talk. Shit, I can't. I've been having a lot of sinus pressure. Fuck this shit, I can't fucking do it, god damn. I'm editing the video you guys just watched. If you guys haven't or can't tell, I have a little bit of a beard and some longer hair here. I've just been being lazy with myself. Well, no, not sanitary. I'm fucking.
I've been having a lot of sinus pressure recently in my head, so I've been being a little lazy about cleaning this up. On top of that, I kind of like growing it out every now and again, and No Shave November is coming around soon, so I can just kind of use that as an excuse. I know it makes me look bummish, especially with all my hair, but sometimes I put my hair back and shit like that, and it makes me look a little bit better. But I got the world's worst widow peak, so or eagle's peak, or whatever the fuck it's called. Yeah. Anyways, done with the fucking personal attributes. The video. There's a couple of things I wanted to address. I'm gonna start doing like these, like I'm gonna record an outro after the video while I'm editing it, so you guys can have some sort of closure in this. I know I don't want to. It's me. It's not you. No. I didn't do a walk around of the car. Yeah, I didn't. I took a video of it, but it was awkward as fuck, and I'd rather not make you guys watch that. So I kind of cut that part out. But I did do a couple of other things to the car that I didn't exactly explain. So this first part you guys watched was just the alternator replacement. I was gonna do the gasket and it was going along well, but it was really late at night, so I had to take that up on another day. That video will be posted after this one pretty soon because it's already done. Me and my brother did that one. There's gonna be a little bit of a different camera angle in that one because my brother was there to record with me. He's younger than me. We have a 7-year gap in between us, so I'm about to turn 20, so he's about to turn 13. And he and I we're pretty close. We're really close actually, and we have a lot of the same hobbies. So we I don't know what the fuck that was, but he wanted to kind of just hang out with me, so I had him record, and I kind of want to teach him a little bit about cars so that whenever he starts to work or get his own cars, he knows how to work on them, at least just a little bit. I don't expect him to go into this like full detail and knowledge of cars that I have, but I want him to kind of know. He has his own YouTube channel. I will link that in the description below on this video and the next video. But he does more game stuff. But anyways, back to the topic of the video. This is just an alternator replacement, not an alternator bracket alternator bracket gasket replacement. I mentioned that in the video in the beginning, and to those of you out there that like saw this video and they were like, oh, I'm stoked to watch this, it's the next video. So if you're watching this like 4 weeks after I post this one, it's probably already up. Just check my channel out and you'll find that video. But I won't put it in the title because I don't want to be clickbaity and shit like that. I will put, this is 645 CI alternator replacement DIY, and then 645 alternator bracket gasket DIY in the next one. So I'm just going to kind of fill you guys in on it. It is a 2005 645 CI BMW, if for those of you that don't know the model references. I don't exactly know what CI stands for in this one, but it's an N62 engine, which is their V8 4.4 liter. It's not the most fuel efficient thing and it's not the most powerful thing, but it's definitely got some kick. It's also quite a boat. I learned something new about it today. When you put it in sports mode, it doesn't feel like a boat anymore. It's super nice though. It's a major upgrade from my fucking Jetta that I wanted to shoot myself in every time I got in it because it felt like it was gonna fall apart. And because I travel so much for school and work, I decided that I should upgrade my car so I don't feel like driving into a wall every time I get into it. Granted, I loved that Jetta. It was one of the first cars I ever owned. It was just time for me to get rid of it. It's time for me to recycle it. I don't know if I'm gonna sell it or I don't know if I'm gonna sell it or if I'm gonna have some custom upgrades to it here soon, since I don't need the shell as a daily anymore. The RX-8 is still here. I haven't done a lot to it because it has a weird running idle. It kind of feels like a misfire, but it could be low compression because rotaries are phenomenally famous. I say phenomenal, but it's not a good phenomenal. They are well known for having really bad compression numbers for the first 2004 Mazda RX-8s. And because mine was a track car, it didn't really get to drive around that much, so 16,000 miles rolled around and then all of a sudden it's going blah. So I'm hoping that I can do a compression test on it. It's hard to do compression test on rotaries because there's 3 compression cycles and there's 3 apex seals in each rotor, so you need to get the compression of each side of the rotor. And it's hard to do that with normal compression testers. There's people that make special ones, but all I'm going to do is just kind of do a hack job. It's not really a hack job, it's just the kind of workaround that people who have it as a hobby do. It's basically you just take the Schrader valve out of a normal compression test and then you record you cranking it with no spark plugs in, obviously, so that it doesn't turn over, which it probably won't if you're doing a compression test. And you make sure the jumps are somewhat equivalent. Thought I just heard someone walk in here, but I'm gonna do that here soon, so I can check it out, and then I might do some body work from there, some other stuff. But I still have some more base shaving to do. It's great with like the way I have it set up, but I need to have a couple of things I need to straighten out before I start to really tear it down and get onto the inside and nitpicky with that kind of stuff and start to like track it and stuff like that. I might do a 13B REW swap because I'm on a group called Purely RX8, and they're great with like the rotary community, and I might kind of source a 13B REW engine from their website or their Facebook group, and then use the current existing turbo I have on there, get a standalone ECU, and then have it tuned, and I have a swap kit I can get for another $2,500. So all in all, normally people expect to have about $10,000 to $15,000 in that. Because I have the shell, I have a swap kit I can source for about $2,500. Already have the turbo and then the standalone ECU. I'm probably going to be looking closer into the range of maybe $6,000 or $7,000, which is phenomenally low. Why am I saying phenomenally so much? What the fuck? Which is a lot lower than most people would expect to get out of a 13B REW swap. Yeah, so that's how that's looking. I just kind of wanted to give you guys an update on that. Normally, these outros will not be this long. They'll normally just be explaining the video, but I didn't have a chance to explain anything else in my other videos, so I had to kind of put it all in one outro. But yeah, the bracket gasket will be the next video. I'm also going to start trying to do some more like daily stuff. It's kind of hard for me to do dailies with this camera. It's a Canon EOS Rebel T3i. I don't know if it's EOS or EOS or EDS. It looks like it's, oh, I think it's EOS. But I don't know if it's called EOS or EOS. But anyways, it's a DSLR camera. It's a little clunky, so it's hard for me to hold and record myself because it doesn't have an autofocus on it. So I might get like a G7X or something like that eventually. I think it's a G7X. I might get one of those eventually so that I can kind of have more vlogging, like daily life stuff. But I'm hoping that soon I can start doing some crazy stuff here that you guys will enjoy. So that being said, I think that is going to kind of end it for this intro. I might do a walk around of the car eventually, but it's nothing really super special. It's just a stock car that I'm doing like small little repairs on to just kind of bring it back to its fresh life. The big repair I might have to do on it eventually is the valve stem seals. If you ever get a 645 CI and it's about 100,000 to 80,000 or 80,000 to 100,000 miles in, you'll eventually have to, what the fuck? You'll eventually have to do the valve stem seals on it because it'll start to burn oil in the chamber at idle, and it kind of puffs out white smoke, which is a common thing. I don't know if it's just on the V8 engines or if it's on this specific type of engine or the engines that they built that had these stem seals. It's a complicated repair, to say the least, but there are people out there that make tools that you can use that I think they're a little costly, but it saves you the time and hassle of having to retime the engine after you replace the seals. And because I think there's 16 on each side, if there's 4 cylinders on one side and there's 4 valves, yeah, so I think there's 16 on each side, so there's 32 valves in total. It's quite a lot of work. So hopefully I can get that done here soon. I'm gonna keep editing this video. I need to put some music on there. For some reason I rendered it out and there's no music, so there's parts that are just like awkwardly long of me just turning up one single bolt. So I need to do that. I think it was a little tired when I was first doing this. So I need to finish that up, and then I will throw this at the end of it, and then from there I will be hopefully posting up the, I'll be doing the next edit of the bracket gasket DIY. And then I just wanted to end this with thank you guys very much for watching this video. Hopefully next time you guys will be able to enjoy, next time you'll be enjoying the bracket gasket DIY, and then after that hopefully you guys will be able to have some fun content you guys enjoy. If you like today's video, like, comment, and subscribe, and also make sure, I really do try to reply to the comments, so make sure you comment, but like and comment and subscribe so that you can kind of help me and expand my fan base. And then from there, if you want to share the video to even further help me expand my fan base, I would greatly appreciate it, and I will always try to assist anybody if they have any questions with this type of repair. I will almost almost always pin or reply to comments and like them so that they will move to the top in the comment filter section, so that if people do have questions about the type of repair, you can go down there if I missed something or anything like that. But again, thank you guys very much for watching. Be on the lookout for the alternator bracket gasket DIY coming up in the next couple of days. If you guys are watching this within 3 days of me posting this one, it shouldn't be up yet, but hopefully by the 4th or 5th, the other one will be up. And then after that, I will be having some fun with some other stuff. So hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Other than that, peace out, and I'll see you guys later.